Welcome to So and So, brought to you by Bernina, Made to Create. I'm Meg Goodman, and you're about to enjoy a casual conversation with a special member of the sewist and quilting community. A conversation about how they got started, what inspires them, what excites them, and their connection to this community. Our guest today is Bianca Weber, founder and owner of Dynamics Fashion, a small German sewing shop operation that sells fabrics, patterns, and accessories and shares sewing projects and tutorials online. She grew up in a small village in southern Germany, eventually becoming a commercial pilot, and currently is studying aerospace engineering. She's contributed multiple how-to and project posts to the Bernina blog, writing about sewing things like sport and activewear and using overlock and cover stitch techniques. And she runs social channels where she shares projects, tutorials, and sewing inspiration. She's based in Stuttgart, Germany, and when not flying, blogging, or sewing, she enjoys scuba diving, rock climbing, yoga, and many other sports. Bianca Weber, welcome to So and So.
Hey there, and thanks for having me.
Oh, this is wonderful. You are a person of many talents, and I can't wait to have this conversation and learn much more about you. Let's start with this. How did you first learn to sew, and who was your inspiration?
I first learned to sew by my grandma. She has been sewing for, well, as long as I knew her. So when I was a kid, I always watched her sewing stuff. And if it just was repairing things, and I just sat there and was like, oh, that's pretty cool what she's doing. And when I was a little kid, she also made some clothes for me. And eventually I got interested in making my own stuff and just gave it a try with some little bags and so on. So these were my first attempts on sewing, and my grandma taught me how to use the sewing machine and how to cut the fabric. And yeah, so this is where I started. And of course, then I then started to sew my first garments. And I also learned a bit from YouTube when grandma was at her limits with the machine because she just had a normal sewing machine. And then eventually I got interested in stretchy fabrics and I needed a serger. And she was like, no, I have never used this before. So this is where YouTube came in. And also I learned a lot there. But yeah, basically my grandma was my inspiration.
Do you remember the first real project that you sewed?
My first real project was a dress. I always wanted to do dancing, and when I was younger, I did a dance class, and at the end of this dance class, there was like a ball. They were having a nice ball with some dancing and so on. And of course, I wanted to have a nice dress. And since dresses were quite expensive, I said to my grandma, Maybe I can make one myself." And she was like, "Yeah, why not?" So we went fabric shopping, and yeah, I sewed my first dress. So this was my first real big project.
Do you still have that dress?
Yes, but it doesn't fit anymore.
But it's
It's a bit
special.
short.
But it's special to have it, right?
Yeah, true.
So you were experimenting with different fabrics. It was kind of a hobby. When did it go from being that to something more to you?
I think I'd say during the pandemics, because back in the days, I didn't get a job because nobody was looking for pilots anymore. So I was stuck at home and I was so bored. And of course, I was looking for options, what I could do in my free time to just get a little bit of money because I then went back to university. And I said, maybe I need a bit of money, but I want to do something that I really enjoy. And flying was not an option. So I said, what other things do I enjoy? And this is where the idea with a sewing company came up because I enjoy sewing, and I thought maybe I just want to share this with other people and um, provide options, especially for sports fabrics, because in Germany it's hard to get them. At least at that point, it was hard. I usually order them from the United States, but that was quite expensive and it wasn't worth for just a meter or two. So this is where I got the idea to set up a fabric shop with mainly sports fabrics.
And we're gonna talk about those fabrics in a minute, but you talked about being a pilot. You are a commercial pilot, and you are studying aerospace engineering. It's pretty notable. Tell us about your career and your studies. I this is fascinating.
You want to know how it all started,
Yes,
or
please.
okay. All right. Well, after my A levels, I went to university for mechanical engineering. I graduated with a bachelor's of engineering, but to be honest, it was a nice job, but it was not something that I want to do until I retired. And back in the days, I was just having a student job in a gym, and the boss at this gym, he was a pilot himself. And I was like,
Mm.
maybe it's
Mhm.
interesting. And he took me on a flight and on some more flights. And it was like, this is amazing. I really want to do this. So this is where the interest for flying really grew. And then I decided, okay, if I'm not going to flight school now, I will never do it, and I probably will regret it for the whole rest of my life. So yeah, this is where I started to go to flight school. And after graduation from flight school, pandemics hit, and I was like, nah, I need something to do, right? So I went back to university and studied something that fascinated me with aerospace engineering. I thought this is the right direction for me because I love airplanes, I love space travel, and all that comes with it. And I said, okay, maybe I should just jump in there and educate myself a bit more until I find a job in aviation.
So how long does it take to go to flight school and earn your pilot's license?
It's just a short time. It's about 2 years, roundabout.
And then aerospace engineering, do you have a vision for what you'd like to do with that education eventually?
That is a good question. I'd say flight to space, but I mean that's quite ambitious. So no, I rather say maybe working in part time in some startup company, doing some, I don't know, either satellite designs or maybe something with space travel, about life support systems, because that's quite interesting for me. So yeah, let's see what opportunities come up after my graduation.
So that means you'll be a rocket scientist.
Hopefully, that would be cool.
That would be cool. So let's talk about your company, Dynamics Fashion. What encouraged you to start this company?
Well, the problem was for me, I loved activewear. I always needed it since I have so many hobbies that are just active. If it's yoga or rock climbing or just going to the gym or riding a bicycle, whatever, I always need something to do. One time per day, I need to do something just to move my body. And this is why I always had a need for activewear and the store bought stuff. I mean, it is rather expensive, so I thought, being a student, maybe there's cheaper options, and I thought, okay, just make it yourself. But I was never happy with the fabrics that were available in Germany at the time. So I have a good friend living in the US, and when I visited, I just bought some fabrics over there. It's like, oh man, that's good stuff. That feels like the store bought fabrics, like from the store bought pants or whatever you have. And this is where the idea came up, and I said, okay, I need to, for my business, I really want to sell those good sport fabrics to people so they have the chance to create their own fashion using real good materials that feel like activewear and not like a plastic bag.
Mhm. And was it a difficult thing to do, or did it just come along pretty easily for you?
It was rather difficult to find fabrics because if you're just starting out as a small business, um, the factories will not produce something for you. So you rather have to look for something they already produced, or if it's their basic main line, so you can just order a couple of meters instead of hundreds of meters. So that was quite difficult to find, and I eventually found a little fabric manufacturer that sold smaller amounts of fabric. To put it like this, it was still a lot, but it was okay for me for my small business.
Now let's talk about, and I hope I pronounce this correctly. Is it Blanche Art?
Yes, Blanchard, it's
Bl Oh, you
French.
say it so much better. So much better. Tell us what this is.
This is my actual sewing blog on Instagram. This is the name I came up with when I was, I don't know, a teenager. So that's a pretty old name, but I didn't want to change it since it's like all these memories connected to it. So yeah, this is my blog on Instagram where I just post about everything that I sew, everything that I make. Sometimes it's not just sewing; it's sometimes just knitting or embroidery. So that is all on this blog.
So you said you came up with this name when you were a teenager, and it has some memories. How did you come up with the name, and tell us about some of the memories that are attached to it?
It's basically just my name in French.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I learned French in school, and also, yeah, I when I was smaller, I was painting pictures. Yeah, just a bit of art, and I always signed it with Blanche because I thought it sounded cooler than Bianca. So yeah, there's a lot of pictures hanging in my parents' house with the name Blanche on it, and it's like, ah, that's. It just reminds me of those nice teenage years that I had. So yeah, this is why I want to keep it.
You said there's pictures in your parents' house, so you're an artist as well?
Well, no, I'm not anymore.
But
It
you
was just
were.
a phase of my teenage years.
Sure, sure. So that's how people can find you on Instagram.
Exactly.
So in addition to all the other things that you do, you're proficient in 4 languages: German, English, Spanish, and Chinese. How do you find this knowledge helpful in running your business or doing the work that you do? Obviously, we're able to have this conversation today in English because of that. But tell us more about how this just helps you in your business and everyday life.
Well, I'd say English in everyday life is pretty clear. In aviation, everything is in English, so most of
Hmm.
my colleagues are English speakers. So that's pretty helpful when you're able to speak English. And the other languages, I love fabric shopping. All around the world, wherever I go, I always look for a fabric shop.
Hmm.
Other people buy souvenirs like magnets for the fridge. I tend to buy I tend to buy fabrics to places where I go just as a little memory.
Uh-huh.
And I often sew it just a little label onto the garment I made from it with a place where I got it from. So there it comes in handy with the languages. So often if you visit a small store, they're not able to speak English or German. Well, certainly not German. So that's always quite helpful if you have some other languages that you can try to communicate in.
We were talking earlier about the different fabrics that you use, and you've written about making sport and active wear. Tell us about the key differences in the fabrics and the techniques you use when you sew for performance versus everyday garments.
If you want to use, or if you want to make garments for performance and active wear, you need really stretchy fabrics, not just a cotton kind of jersey. You really need something super elastic. And there it comes in handy if you have a serger. I always use my serger for that kind of fabric because the seams are way more elastic. So whatever fancy movements you want to do in your sport garments, just imagine some yoga tights, and you, I don't know, want to do a split or something. There is a lot of force and tension on these seams, so you really need some strong seams. And I think the serger is the perfect tool for this. And then I also like my cover stitcher. It's just perfect for finishing off a shirt or just the hem of some pants. And it makes some beautiful seams as well, just for the optics. So it looks quite professional.
So, walk us through one of your recent projects and what has made this fun or challenging for you?
My recent project was something completely different. It had nothing to do with activewear. But when my grandma passed this summer, we just tried to get rid of all the stuff in the house, and there were some really nice garments just sitting there without any use, and the fabrics were just beautiful. These were so great fabrics, and I thought it's just too sad for them to go to waste. And maybe you can keep some memories, right, with some of these things. but I would never have worn them. So I took one of the skirts. It was a really, I don't want to say old fashioned, but it was just some traditional German kind of skirt, with a really beautiful fabric. And I thought, okay, maybe I can whip it up into something else that I would actually wear. So yeah, I tried some upcycling and went from a skirt to a really nice blazer.
Mhm. So there's good memories in that.
Yeah, definitely.
I understand you're aiming for a fully self-made wardrobe. How's that coming along?
Pretty good, actually.
Uh-huh.
So I'd say after more than 20 years of sewing, I always try to start up with some new projects and to also go with more complicated projects. In the beginning, it was also basic, but nowadays it's like, oh, maybe I can give it a try. It sounds complicated, but why not? What can go wrong? So yeah, sometimes things go wrong, of course, and I have to retry or just rip up all the seams and start from the beginning. But yeah, I got a bit more. I just gave it a. Oh, how can you say this?
You became
I'm
more
stupid.
brave to try new things.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Yes, exactly. That's the point. So I became more brave in trying out new things and trying out new fabrics or techniques. So that's coming along quite well. I guess the only thing that is missing from the self-made wardrobe are the shoes, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, I guess this is a bit more difficult story. So I will skip this for a couple more years and then see how it goes.
Well, leather and canvas work for shoes, that's a whole 'nother hobby you can take up.
That's true.
So in sewing your wardrobe, what pieces of clothing seem to be the most challenging to make?
It really depends. Some friends of mine they struggle with elastic fabrics because they're like, "Oh, they're so stretchy. I cannot work with it." And for me, the challenge was always the normal fabrics, the woven ones that are not
Mhm.
elastic, because you really need to be precise. There is
Mm,
no
mhm.
margin. You cannot just stretch it a bit and make it fit. It really needs to be on the point, and that was always the challenge for me.
You do many things. I think we've established that through our conversation. Talk about how you balance running an online shop with your blogging, social content, flying, studies, your hobbies. How do you manage all this?
Yeah, that's the point. So at the moment, my fabric shop is a bit on hold because of the studies. Beginning of the year, I decided to go back to university to complete my master's because I was just annoyed by it wasn't finished, and I was like, no,
Mhm,
I need to finish it off because it's so interesting, and it's sad that I wasted so much time on it if I don't graduate.
mhm,
So at this point, I decided that the shop needs to go on a hold because otherwise it would just be too much. My main focus is, of course, my job. I love my job and I want to do a good job. So this is the focus. And then I try to have enough time for studying. So, yeah, one thing needed to go
mhm.
just for the moment until I'm done with university. And yeah, the rest, I mean, the sewing is just a really nice hobby. So when you're coming home from an exhausting week at work, it's just something relaxing for me to do. So I just sit there for an hour or two and just sew something to, um, yeah, just to calm down a bit and to finally feel home and enjoy my days off.
How much longer till you finish your degree?
Um, Half a year roundabout.
So hopefully you'll be able to start up your shop again. Do you still blog?
Yeah, for Bernina, I still blog. Yeah,
Hmm.
there's it's coming up at least once per month, I'd say. So yeah,
And where can we find your Bernina blogs?
it's on the official Bernina blog website.
Hmm. Let's talk about when you started your business because I'm sure there are people joining us listening to this conversation today who are thinking, yeah, maybe I would like to start a small business. Are there any mistakes or learnings that you made early on that you'd like to share with people who are thinking about doing this?
take it easy, take it slowly, and think about before you make some big investments. um, in the beginning, I ordered way too much fabric, and I didn't know where to put it. That was problem number
Mm-hmm.
one. So yeah, I got all my family involved. Like you need some fabric here, and you need some fabric here, and we just meet in the middle and cut it up. And yeah, that was a bit complicated. So before you do this, make a plan. And yeah, I think it depends on where you want to start your business. If you want to start your business in Germany, there's a lot of rules that need to be followed. So that was a bit tricky. Maybe it would have been easier getting some advice or taking some classes about how to set up your business. But I guess this doesn't apply to the United States or wherever you're listening from.
And people can always reach out to you on Instagram if they have questions or comments.
Yes, of course.
What are you working on now? What's your project?
Yeah, currently I'm just working on some blog posts for Bernina, just sewing up some pretty basic garments and yeah, writing on how to post for them. So yeah, nothing too fancy and nothing for the business.
So, in addition to that, your full time job obviously is a pilot. Where do you fly?
Mainly in Europe, so basically all the bigger cities in Europe we fly to, and sometimes it's also North Africa, but that's as far as it gets.
Hmm. Are there a lot of female pilots today?
It depends. Well, in our company, I'd say so. It's not super many, but yeah, there's more than 10 years ago. It's become more and more popular.
And when you get into aerospace engineering, I'm sure that that is much more heavily populated with females now as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, speaking of all of this that you're doing and coming up, what's next for you?
That's a good question. Well, I'd say for me, the next thing is writing up my master's thesis and graduating from university. And then let's see what opportunities come up afterwards. I just want to keep it all open because I want to be open for all the opportunities and don't want to be too much in a tunnel, being too focused on something and then missing out on all the other stuff.
Hmm. Can you share with us what your master's thesis is going to be about?
It will probably be about AI systems and cockpit of an airliner. So about a human AI teaming that is collaborating together to come to a solution of a problem.
Nothing light. It's
No.
that's pretty involved. Um, Besides what is next for you, Bianca, what's your dream?
My dream would be, well, of course, flying to space. Being an astronaut would be a really cool thing to do. It would be my dream to see the Earth from just above, from like 400 kilometers above. It would be amazing, but yeah, not really sure if that works out in my lifetime.
You never know. You never
You never
know.
know. No.
We've talked about a lot today. Is there a question I didn't ask you that you wish I had?
So far, I'm not sure. No, no, I don't think so.
Let me ask you this. As our listeners would like to reach out to you, is Instagram the best way for them to do that?
Absolutely, it is.
And remind us again how they can find you on Instagram.
Yeah, it's at Blanche Art Sewing. So I
Wonderful.
guess that's maybe you need to write it down somewhere.
And spell that out for us, if you would.
Yes, it's BLANCHART and then sewing.
Wonderful. I'm sure you will hear from people. I have so enjoyed this conversation. It has been wonderful to talk to you today, and I thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Another story about someone just like you. Someone for whom sewing and quilting is so much more than a hobby. It's a way of life and a connection to something bigger. If you know someone you think has an outstanding story, a story that should be shared on this podcast, please drop me a note to meg@soandsopodcast.com or complete the form on our website. Be sure to subscribe to, rate, and review this podcast on your favorite platform, and visit our website, soandsopodcast.com, for more information about today's and all of our guests. That's SEWANDSO podcast.com. And finally, I want to thank Bernina for making this program possible. I'm Meg Goodman, and I look forward to you joining us next time on So and So.